Neptown Tuner here. I'm going to try to do a one-take video on the best, most unique, easiest way to take the struts off of this modern platform Audi. It's going to apply to almost all of them. They have similar setups, but this is specifically A4, A5, Q5, A6. I could keep on going, but this is specifically a 2-liter platform. I just came up with this yesterday, so let's see how this goes. I'll explain it all as I go. Hit that like and subscribe button in perpetuity. The tools laid out before I start. I got a few lights on the situation so you can get the best view possible. I got 2 hydraulic jacks on it, and I'm not really planning on putting my extremities underneath the vehicle, so I don't need to hear about the jack stand comments this time. And let's get started. I'm going to mount it up right here, and let's go. What do I have to explain? Anything else? Let's go. So on the other side of this vehicle, I already showed you how the pinch bolt came apart pretty easily. It just slid right apart like it never usually happens. This particular setup has these little cap nuts over the lug studs. If you don't have these special Audi VW pullers, then you're likely going to scratch the wheel. And I see a lot of people try to do it with needle nose and they end up scratching the wheel. I typically suggest breaking these loose before jacking the vehicle up, because a lot of times you're going to have to go back and lower the vehicle to loosen these things because your impact's probably not powerful enough. And we got the bad boy Milwaukee, so it should be able to get it in this application. There's a stutter in there a little bit. Did you hear that? And it's not even on the reverse setting. It was on number 3. Picking that up, picking up what I'm putting down. I don't have the, anyway, if it's in the reverse setting, the 4th setting, it's supposed to do that little stutter. As far as I know, it's not supposed to do that in number 3 setting. So, and don't do like I just did. I didn't hold the wheel good enough. I mean, I was putting, but I'm not trying, my back's actually hurting a little bit right now, so that's my excuse. But typically I would choke up on it if I'm not trying to get a good view, and I would really hold that wheel in place so you don't hit this. That's that noise that you were hearing, was this backing plate. But I didn't bend it or anything, I just barely tapped it. If you let the weight of the wheel come down on this backing plate, you can unintentionally bend it somewhere, and then you can have a brake noise. Now let's move on to our pinch bolt situation. I need to make sure that the camera's where it needs to be. We're gonna go ahead and just spray some lube on it to begin with. And now I'm gonna try to break it loose with this here ratchet wrench. Like I said in my other video, you always want to loosen the nut side, not the bolt side. The nut side's the side that wants loosened. You're just fighting yourself if you try to loosen the bolt side. And then things go really nice if the whole bolt starts spinning as you loosen it. This one's not doing that. So now it's loose enough to where I can come over here to this bolt side. This bolt side's not threaded, it's just a bolt, and now it spins, so now we know that we're in the money. So now I can go ahead and take this the rest of the way out, and I'm gonna speed up by moving to my impact. And then typically I would suggest threading the nut back on by hand. And if it's in there kind of stiff, you want to flush up the end of the bolt and the end of the nut. But this one's really loose, so I'm taking my brass hammer and I'm just tapping it out. And now I'm taking it off the rest of the way. And now I can take one of my open-end wrenches here behind this washer and just kind of pry it out a little bit. And now I can very carefully take my hammer . Okay, that's not working too well this time, so sometimes if it's really loose, it'll just come out. Like I said, this is not threaded, but the threads on the actual bolt will sometimes allow you to come out. Now, this bolt right here is actually tweaked. I can see it's bent right here, and that's why it wasn't wanting to come out. It wasn't from anything I did, but the end of that bolt, I don't know if, can you see that? The end of that bolt is definitely bent right there on the thread side. So typically you're required to replace these bolts every time you do the suspension stuff anyway. So see, this ratchet wrench has just a little bit of a lip on the end of it, and then this one doesn't. That little bit of a lip is just too much to get in there, but this one that doesn't have the lip on it looks like it can probably fit. We're gonna go on the nut side and see, I fit it right on there. The other one wouldn't fit. And then when it starts spinning the whole bolt, then we can hold the other side and we'll spin it off with this ratchet wrench. And now we're to the point where I can just get it off by hand. And now I just took the end of this wrench and I just wiggled it back and forth, and I took my finger and pushed the bolt and it slid right out. That bolt looks like it's in good shape. You don't typically find them bent like that, but you know, especially if you're working on a customer car, you don't want to take any risks with old bolts, because this is suspension. It's what's holding the vehicle up. I could have put the ratchet wrench on there, but I'm just trying to get it loose. Okay, both of those bolts are out now, and they just pulled straight out of here. And now I can probably tap these out just like this. Let's see. Looks like this side was not as bad as the other side, but it does look like someone put heat on this. Let's see, that one might be. I gotta keep going. I showed you that in my other video. You can go watch that. Okay, now we have the knuckle like this. And the goal is to get this strut out back here, behind here. So let me just pull this off here and show you. Now we have this arm here, and this arm has to come off of this strut at some point. It looks like this. The new struts do not come with this arm, and to get that arm out, you need the clearance. And our suspension is all the way down right now, and this thing has to slide off, or this whole thing has to come down enough to where this whole strut tower mount has to clear this fender well. So we got to figure something out. First, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and disconnect our sway bar link, and that will allow us to free this side up individually from the other side, because what the sway bar link does is it tries to equalize the suspension. So that's going to be a 16 millimeter back here. Okay. It feels like it's wanting to come out pretty easily, so I'm just going to thumb it out now, rather than swinging that big wrench. Give me a little bit of struggle here. Let's see if it'll clear that plastic collar there. Cleared it just enough to where, and these, you know, you probably go ahead and replace these sway bar links too if you're getting in here, because those can cause problems as well. But now we're going to go to the next step, which is, let's go ahead and loosen this bolt right here. There's a few different things we could do. And another thing that I kind of wanted to show you was, at this point, this arm right here is the one that needs changed first. It gets the most wear because every time you brake, the applied force comes back into this right here. And it just gets, there's a big fat rubber bushing in here that gets a lot of wear. And let me see if I can't zoom in and show you what this one looks like. Well, it's hard to see up in there, but maybe I could show you the other side after the video. I got to keep on going. We got this bolt down here, this bottom bolt, our long ratchet wrench. It's going the wrong way, I can tell already. It's a lot of torque for this electric tool, but it's a long ratchet. Should be able to handle it. Any day now. Okay, I think I gotta hold the other side at this point. Side on. All right, down there. Now let's see what happens. Okay. Now, like I said, you could use that technique where you flush up the end of the nut before you tap it. I don't know if this light's doing anything for us or not, so we're just gonna get it out of here. And with the brass hammer, I'm going to just tap it out, and then on this other side, see if you can catch a visual on where we're at. I'm just gonna pull it out by hand here. Set it in safe keepings. Now this thing is loose. Now how are we gonna get this thing? This knuckle is all the way down. The arm is loose and we still don't have enough room. So what are we gonna do next? Well, I'm gonna opt for go ahead and pull this out of its socket right here so we can, or maybe not. What do I do? What should I do next? Let's just try to go about it as it is, and we'll figure it out as we go. So I keep on holding the camera. What I came up with is hooks. We got these long hooks, and we gotta get them behind these bolts like this. Okay, that one's secure, and we're just gonna put the nut on a little bit. And while I'm doing this, let me talk about why I'm doing it this way. Because some of those control arms down there are difficult to deal with. Some of those ball joints, by the time you separate it, you're replacing the arm. And maybe some people don't want to take apart a bunch of stuff because they know that they're going to run into more problems. This is for you. Will it fit? It fits. I'm going to put this nut on it, just start it. Okay, now we're going to take our exhaust clamp. I think that's probably a 3-inch, and we're going to put that around here like this just to get ready for it. And then we got our chain with I don't know how many links, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't know, I can't count. We're gonna take these. I think I really need to mount the camera back up at this point because I'm slowing it up. The idea is we're pulling it up with this concoction. Now what this is going to do is it's going to pull the strut up and out of the way so I can get this piece right here down. I was watching these to make sure that these are clear, and now we're going to go more on this side here. And just like that, I'm going to go ahead and just remove this now. It's probably not necessary, but I would like to go ahead and get this bolt all the way loose. Now this is a pinch setup on this arm. So this bolt pinches that down tight, and they make a special tool for that. But what I have come up with is just a bolt right here that you built a cam into the bolt. So this side is supposed to slide in. This side is supposed to slide in like this, and then you open it up like this by spinning the cam. Right? So I made that, and now I'm going to put that in here, and then I'm going to open it up with my wrench. Actually, the ratchet wrench is going to work better with this. I can't even hardly get enough swing. There we go. And that just slides right off. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop this brake line out, and it comes out the top. Just got it out by hand, and I'm going to scoot that brake line behind here, and I'm gonna get this other cable out of the way as well, and it scoots straight out. You don't want to pull tension on those cables. Now I'm going to come to the top here, and we're gonna unbolt these 4 bolts right here. This one here, these are all 16 millimeter. And there's typically a cowl right here, and I show in a different video how to remove the engine, where you just pull these up right here on both sides. There's one on the other side as well. And then you just pull this plastic cowl out. You do not take this out. This stays in place. If you take that out, it's very difficult to get back into the windshield. The only reason why you would take this out, as far as I know, is to replace the windshield. Maybe to get to the wiper motor. But after you get that 13mm nut out of the way, you kind of have to rotate this up, and you have to pay attention to that little rain guard and stuff, and kind of just pull and wiggle just right. And be careful, because there's a grommet in there. And if you had both hands, maybe move that cowl out of the way just enough. And that's gonna pull straight out. Putting it in is a little bit gimmicky as well. And if your car is old, I don't think this grommet is the one that seals right there, but you can see that this one's split. It might have happened just now, but rubber gets old and brittle, especially if that's the first time it's ever come out. But I think there's actually a separate gasket, and that's the one that, yeah, there's a separate gasket in the bottle, and that's the one that seals, and it typically seals just fine when you put it back in there. This just supports this outside plastic right here. The bottle seals down in here. Next step anyway is to get to these 16mm, and we're just going to zip those out with an impact. It was hard to get to. Do we need an extension for this one? You see there's one tucked away down in there. Looks like we got it. And then we got two easy ones right here. And this should, that one should make things happen. So, what do we got now? Can we get this out of the way without these wires being interrupted? We're gonna go ahead and just disconnect this connector down here. And really we could get the whole thing out of the way by disconnecting this one right here. And we probably should have just done that to start, but I was just seeing how much I could get away with. So now this whole thing is loose, and we can just pull it out of the way like this, and we still got to be mindful of our brake hose right here, and we got to be mindful of our fender right here. So with two hands it's much easier, but it slides right out. And that's how to get your strut out. Okay, it's not gonna hurt anything. You're not gonna bend this rod or anything. You're just compressing the spring like this, but all this tells me, after I thought about it and looked at it, was I went too much on these. All I would have really had to do was go back and forth evenly and get them about this much each, because it works better if it's level anyway. So I need to adjust this chain. Maybe I should have gone one more link on the inside and it would have been perfectly fine. But if you go too far in, then this whole thing can start to get in your way of this. But I went back together on the other side as practice with this setup, and it goes right back in as well.